This is insane. What you're looking at right now is the engine that could take humans to the moon in the coming years. It's called the Raptor 3, shown in a rare test video SpaceX recently shared, where they demonstrated exactly how this engine performs in the harsh vacuum of space. So, what upgrades did SpaceX pack into Raptor 3 to make it ready for upcoming lunar missions? And how is it different from Raptor 2? Let's find out on today's episode of Alpha Tech. It won't be long before we finally get to see all 33 Raptor 3 engines roaring to life on Booster 19, along with 6 more Raptor 3s on Ship 39 for Starship Flight 12, a mission SpaceX is targeting for the first quarter of 2026. And this flight is shaping up to be something special. We're talking about the most advanced, most powerful engines on Earth, mounted on the biggest rocket ever built. Everything about this test is aimed at one goal: getting ready for something far more ambitious, using Raptor 3 on the Starship HLS lander to take humans back to the moon. But because that mission is insanely difficult and packed with risks, SpaceX needs to prepare carefully. And on December 4th, they gave us a pretty big surprise: a brand new test video of the Raptor 3 firing at the McGregor facility in Texas. The engine ran for 6 minutes and 40 seconds, the longest continuous burn SpaceX has ever done. Not a short ignition test, not a relight, but a full duration burn meant to simulate real Starship conditions. As SpaceX explained, validation testing on a Raptor 3 performing a Starship V3 ascent burn. Multiple versions of this test will cover the different conditions seen by Starship's 3 inner engines during its initial climb to space. And if you look closely, that steady blue-white flame already tells you everything. It's the full-flow stage combustion cycle running exactly the way it's supposed to. And right above that 1,000-degree plume, you can actually see a thin layer of white frost forming on the engine's fuel plumbing. That's the cooling system at work, keeping the metal cold enough that the engine doesn't even need a heat shield, something we'll talk about in a moment. But first, check out the serial number printed on the engine: 75. That means at least 75 Raptor 3 engines have been built so far. In reality, the number is probably closer to 100, maybe even more, basically enough for around 3 full Starship flights, since each Starship Super Heavy stack needs 39 engines. It's not an insane pace, but consider this. The very first Raptor 3, serial number 1, only showed up on August 3rd, 2024. And in just a little over a year, SpaceX has gone from the first prototype to full-scale production. That's a wild amount of progress in such a short time. But now comes the part that really matters. What makes this engine truly different from Raptor 2? Well, basically, Raptor 2 was the test bed, the version SpaceX used to push Starship through its early flights. Raptor 3, on the other hand, is the engine meant to take humans to other worlds. And Elon Musk actually said it himself just yesterday. The most advanced rocket engine ever made by far. Raptor 3 and subsequent versions will make life multiplanetary and progress civilization towards Kardashev 2. To reach a goal that ambitious, the first and most important thing SpaceX had to tackle was performance and mass. Those two factors drive everything. And when it comes to weight, Raptor 3 is significantly lighter thanks to a full redesign that removes bulky heat shields and simplifies the entire layout of the engine. Each unit is about 1.1 tons lighter than Raptor 2. Multiply that by 39 engines, 33 on Super Heavy and 6 on Starship, and the total mass savings becomes huge. Data from last year already hinted at this. Raptor 3 weighs 1.525 tons, compared to 2.08 tons for Raptor 1 and 1.63 tons for Raptor 2. Cutting that much mass directly boosts payload capacity and improves overall flight performance. But how did they pull it off? It's because with Raptor 3, SpaceX completely eliminated the heat shield and reworked the propellant plumbing. That alone is a massive leap in reliability. The simplified, more integrated design makes the engine far more robust, reducing the kinds of issues we used to see on super heavy flights. For example, Raptor 2 often struggled with engine relights after stage separation, something Raptor 3 handles much better thanks to those simplifications. Every mission has brought improvements, but the truth is, the Raptor family still had lingering issues, until now, hopefully. The streamlined Raptor 3 is built to push future flights to a much higher success rate, and a flawless first flight would be a major milestone. Elon Musk also mentioned in an interview that SpaceX ditched traditional flanges and switched to welding. Bolts, screws, and flanges make engines easier to assemble and take apart, but they also add failure points, places where leaks form, heat builds up, and structural weaknesses appear. Welding removes all of that, making the engine far tougher during extreme conditions like liftoff and re-entry. It does make maintenance harder, but it forces SpaceX to refine the engine design so well that it needs less frequent servicing anyway. And all those upgrades come with big benefits. Musk confidently said Raptor 3 is lighter, stronger, and more efficient than Raptor 2. Now, let's talk raw power. Musk summarized it perfectly in a post back in March. Raptor 3 will aim for 300 tons of thrust at liftoff, so 10,000 tons of combined thrust for 33 engines. That one sentence already turns heads. Raptor 3 isn't just stronger and more reliable, it delivers those improvements while slashing cost by 75%. In the rocket engine world, where progress is usually slow and expensive, a jump like that barely sounds real. The reliability gains show up both technically and visually in the redesigned structure, the integrated components, the cleaner layout. But the real headline is the thrust increase. Raptor 3 now produces 280 tons of thrust at sea level and 306 tons in vacuum. For context, that's nearly double the 185 tons from the original Raptor 1, and significantly higher than Raptor 2, which hit 230 tons at sea level and 258 tons in vacuum. And this is just the beginning. That performance gap is expected to grow even wider as SpaceX continues refining the engine. So, what do those numbers actually mean for lunar missions? Well, here's the quick recap. Raptor 3 is now hitting around 280 tons of thrust at sea level, which is more than a 20% boost over Raptor 2. And it's not just raw power, the efficiency is better too. Its specific impulse climbs from about 327 to 335 seconds at sea level, and from 350 to roughly 360 seconds in vacuum. But what does that translate to in the real world? With the same amount of propellant, about 3,400 tons of methalox in Super Heavy and roughly 1,200 to 1,300 tons in a Starship tanker, those improvements in thrust and ASP actually give the whole system a lot more delta V than you'd expect. If you plug the numbers into the Tsiolkovsky rocket equation, even just a 2.5 to 3% bump in average, ISP, translates to something like 100 to 130 meters per second of extra delta V, when the whole stack is fully fueled. And when you add the raw power boost from Raptor 3 on top of that, Super Heavy is basically leaving the pad with way more muscle. And that really matters because more thrust means Starship reaches higher speed and altitude before MECO. That cuts down gravity losses by a lot, around another 200 to 300 meters per second saved. So when you add all three effects together, more thrust, higher ISP, and less gravity loss thanks to a shorter, harder first stage burn, the whole Super Heavy and Starship stack ends up gaining 500 to 600 meters per second of delta V compared to the Raptor 2 setup. And as you know, delta V is everything when your mission depends on orbital refueling. For Starship HLS, the one that will actually land astronauts on the moon, NASA's early estimates suggested something like 15 tanker flights running Raptor 2 engines to fill up the roughly 1,500 tons of propellant needed for the lunar transfer. But with Raptor 3, that drops way down to around 7 to 10 flights, maybe even less as the engine continues to improve. There's more. With Raptor 3, Starship HLS uses less propellant just to reach orbit. It can reach LEO, dock with the orbital refueling system, top off its tanks faster, and head for lunar orbit without needing any redesign beyond replacing all 39 engines with Raptor 3 units. In short, upgrading from Raptor 2 to Raptor 3 alone boosts overall performance and fuel efficiency enough to shift Starship from a system that needs a long list of refueling flights just to reach the moon into one that's far simpler and fully capable of meeting the requirements of Artemis 3 and the missions that come after. So when are we actually going to see that future? Maybe sooner than most people think. As Starship moves into its version 3 configuration, taller, lighter, and built to carry heavier payloads, the Raptor 3 engine will finally come into play. The first V2 Starship, Ship 33, already flew on Flight 7 back in January 2025 alongside Booster 14. On the super heavy side, Booster 17 was the last V2 unit. Booster 18 was supposed to be the first V3 booster, but it suffered a LOX tank failure during testing in November 2025 and had to be scrapped. Here's where things get interesting. Booster 19, the first true V3 booster, comes with a redesigned engine bay built specifically to support the Raptor 3. SpaceX has confirmed that B-19 is now assigned to Flight 12, replacing the failed B-18, while Booster 14 might even be reused for earlier flights like Flight 9 or 10. If SpaceX maintains its pace of one launch every 1 to 2 months, Flight 12 could happen in Q1 2026, as early as February or March. That means the first Starship flight powered by Raptor 3 could take place in early 2026, marking a major milestone toward the long-term goal, full and rapid reusability. But the first flight isn't the real test. The real question is whether Raptor 3 can deliver fast, reliable reuse. Elon Musk keeps repeating the same point. Full and rapid reusability is the only way Starship becomes economically viable. Being able to reuse engines with minimal refurbishment will decide how fast SpaceX can scale, and Raptor 3 was designed with exactly that in mind. If it performs the way SpaceX hopes, we might soon see regular booster landings and quick turnarounds, a huge step toward making spaceflight feel a lot more like air travel. Imagine a future where Starship launches several times a month, sending satellites, cargo, and eventually people into orbit and beyond. That's the future SpaceX is chasing, and Raptor 3 is the engine that could make it happen. But Raptor 3 is only one piece of the puzzle. SpaceX still has to prove out the whole ecosystem: the tanker variant, the depot variant, the cargo variant, and eventually the HLS lander itself. Once all of these vehicles are tested and validated, SpaceX will finally have the toolbox it needs, not just to send crews from Earth to the Moon, but to deliver hundreds of tons of materials to start building a permanent lunar base.